Hey, good morning from the chilly blue state of Georgia. I cannot believe that we still have to talk about this bullshit. I can't believe we're still dealing with this bullshit. In covering politics and covering Trumpism and all of this nonsense, it is. I keep thinking I'll get to a point where there aren't moments that surprise me, or that there aren't moments that where people go above and beyond, like a level where maybe I thought that they might stop, and yet the past month has just allowed me one opportunity after another to be astounded by how far these assholes are willing to take this thing. I wanted to talk this morning about the element of this Trump slash Flynn call to suspend the Constitution and declare martial law, and what it's about and what's going on. Because first and foremost, it's absolute madness. We all know that, but I want to talk about. Yeah, so good morning to some people who haven't seen it yet. It's fun. It's a fun thing that happened this morning. Yeah. So what happened is Mike Flynn and a group. I'm not even going to look up the name of the group, but it's some sort of "We the Constitution, Freedom, Liberty, Eagles." One of those groups. We the People, sure, something that sounds like it's from the Constitution, right? They released a statement that is now floating around the MAGA universe, the cesspool, that says that Trump should declare martial law or limited martial law. There's different types of martial law. There's total martial law, I guess, and then there's just like partial, sort of surgical martial law, and that he should suspend the Constitution and either set up a new election, or I don't, maybe we should just go ahead and skip forward and just have him declare himself the winner. And I wanted to talk about not only the fact that that's dangerous, we'll get to that in a second, but I think what's really important is to get people up to speed on why this is happening and what the background of it is. Because this is, first and foremost, I can't explain this totally on Twitter, what is happening. I wanted to get on here and drink some coffee and be around some good people, because I'm so tired of this bullshit, and I know you are too. But I wanted to talk about what is happening here, what reality they're living in, how this whole thing is coming together, so you'll have a decent idea, because this is what's boiling up in Trump world. And remember, I've talked about this in the past. They float this stuff on the fringe, and it starts getting tested out in the fringe. It's like A/B testing, and it used to be Alex Jones who did this, and right now it's the QAnon world, and they're A/B testing these calls and these appeals and all of that stuff. So I want to talk about what's happening in that world. And I also want to talk about the forces of the grift, of what is happening with both Trump and Flynn and all of these people, and even Sidney Powell, and exactly what is at play here, and why. I want to talk about it in a way that I don't think most people are, in order to make it clear why we're not out of the woods, and why this is just sort of the beginning of something pretty bad if we don't recognize what it is and we don't deal with it. So, first things first, this whole suspend the Constitution, declare martial law thing, this is a side effect of the QAnon universe, the QAnon movement, or whatever we want to call it. Michael Flynn is sufficiently engrossed in it. Now, when I'm talking about this, on one hand, we can talk about QAnon as being like this nutty conspiracy theory. And that's certainly what it is. And for some people, it's becoming sort of a religion or this alternate reality. But I want to talk about someone like a Mike Flynn. And I want to talk about what QAnon is for Mike Flynn. All right. And this is an important thing because we have to be able to put ourselves in a couple of different mindsets. For some people, QAnon is like an absolute reality. It's something that is what's it's an explanation for what's going on in the world, right? It's their faith. It's how the world works around them. Okay. For Mike Flynn and people like Mike Flynn, that's not what it is. It's a marketing opportunity. All right. This is what I keep talking about with the grift. So for instance, we've all experienced this type of stuff. You have like the multi-level marketing stuff where it's like pyramid schemes and you're trying to find someone beneath you or whatever. And a lot of this depends on finding people who have a religious like faith towards the idea of American exceptionalism and meritocracy, and that if you just work hard enough and pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you'll make a ton of money. Those are the people that you scam in these pyramid schemes, right? They have this faith-like reality in that arena. This QAnon thing, it isn't just a conspiracy theory. It's also this scam. It's also this grift. So someone like Mike Flynn, who is completely disgraced, right? I mean, not only was he, he was convicted, and admitted that he had lied to the feds. He was basically dragged screaming out of the White House for lying to everybody and violating one thing after another. Mike Flynn has completely invalidated himself. So he has to have some sort of avenue. Okay. Well, Mike Flynn has been propped up among the QAnon people as sort of like, maybe he's Q. Right. And by the way, he's a former general, so and national security advisor. Maybe he is Q, or maybe he knows Q, or maybe he's working with Q. So, and not only that, but he's embraced QAnon. He has promoted it. He's amplified it. So among the QAnon community, Mike Flynn is an absolute hero. So Mike Flynn has made his economic focus on the QAnon world. Right? He doesn't believe in it. He doesn't believe that there's a QAnon guy on Coon posting secrets. He doesn't believe that. I mean, he's not the smartest tool in the shed, but he's not dumb either. What he has done is he has recognized, Mike Flynn has recognized, like a lot of other people, that there is a ton of money to be made off of QAnon. So, by being one of the most high-profile QAnon supporters, Mike Flynn has nestled himself in a marketing universe of QAnon. Okay. And in QAnon, for those of you who have followed it, or at least listened to the rest of us who have been miserable following it, QAnon is a fascistic conspiracy theory that says that there is a big, giant fifth column conspiracy within the United States among the deep state and Soros and all those people, a cabal, so to speak. Again, this is all anti-Semitic. They believe that the only means that this is going to be taken care of is through a military means. They think that things are so corrupt that the military is going to have to come in and clean this stuff out. Now, what has been happening over the past couple of weeks? And again, like most people don't know about this because, you've got other things to do. That's why you got me out here looking through these cesspools and sorting through this bullshit. Over the past couple of weeks, there have been these emerging rumors. And again, remember that over in the far right, they amplify this stuff and they test it out. Okay. They see what sticks. And now, like, you are starting to hear some of it, like the Dominion stuff, right? The Sidney Powell stuff, the Hugo Chavez stuff, the stuff that Giuliani will come out and say. They're getting all of that stuff from the QAnon world. The QAnon world is where they are testing out on the true believers, the acolytes of Trumpism. They're testing that stuff out and they're seeing what goes viral. They're seeing what stuff is being repeated and what stuff is being supported. Okay, that's how you've heard about Dominion. That's the Hugo Chavez stuff. The thing that has happened in the past couple of days, or I guess in the past week, is this really weird story. And a couple of people, a couple of like former generals, and I haven't heard Flynn say this explicitly, but I think there's a guy named McIntyre or something along those lines. They are starting to go out and they are starting to say that there was a military raid in Germany on a server farm. And it has to do with this whole quote unquote election fraud bullshit conspiracy theory. They're out there telling people that there was a literal battle between the military and the CIA, because the CIA is on this thing, obviously, right? And that there was a firefight, and that U.S. service people were murdered. All right. They basically have said that troops have been murdered in a literal firefight, and they went ahead and they said, "Oh, they said it was in Somalia. They said that there was a helicopter crash in I want to say Egypt." So you have actual service people who have died, and they're starting to take service people who have died in service and started to say that they're part of this larger conspiracy theory battle. By the way, that's exactly what they did with Seth Rich. Right. And Seth Rich's family was suing everybody, saying, you need to leave our kid alone. We lost our child. You need to stop putting him in your conspiracy web, including Fox News, which, by the way, remember that all that started in this cesspool, and they tested it and tested and tested it. And then it got up to Fox News. Well, they've said that there was a battle over in Germany. Oh, I'm all over the place on this stuff. It sucks. I do not like keeping track of what's going on in the far right. But again, this is one of the reasons I've been able to tell you what's going to happen, is because they don't hide this stuff. It's just we are so siloed in our different worlds. All you have to do is go take a trip over into the MAGA universe and the QAnon universe, and it's all out there. I mean, that's why I was talking about the Great Reset last week. And now that's starting to rear its stupid head. Anyway, so there's this rumor, conspiracy theory, that there was a firefight between the military and the CIA, and they found the servers with the fake votes and all that stuff. It's a complete fantasy. But the point of this is that the QAnon conspiracy universe is a military tinged universe. In that alternate reality, the government is completely corrupt. It's completely run through with corruption. There is no means democratically for the government to be taken back, because the deep state and Soros and all these people have too much of a reign on it. What Flynn and the people around him are motioning to is that QAnon military universe. Right now, and by the way, a lot of this is called LARPing, live action role playing, which is what so much of the QAnon universe is about. It's like, oh, the storm is coming. I can't wait until the trials, and Barack Obama's been arrested and Hillary Clinton's been arrested, and all this stuff. It's just pretend. It's this big giant fantasy that they're all part of. Flynn is tipping his hat to them. And that group is tipping their hat at them because they have a financial incentive to be part of that universe. And if they give that, and by the way, the entire QAnon universe and MAGA universe is starving right now for hope. So anybody who brings them hope, and you've seen this on social media, there's an economic incentive to give people who are flagging in terms of hope, to give them hope. You've seen people on Twitter who are like, oh, everything's fine. Everything's totally fine. There are sealed indictments, and this is happening, and that's happening. And what you can do, particularly with social media, is you can make a lot of money, and you can gain a lot of followers, and you can gain a ton of economic incentive if you're willing to give hopeless people hope. And what has happened now is that Flynn has floated this idea of martial law, a new election, suspending the Constitution, which is, again, signaling to the QAnon people who'd be fine with it. And that's something that we have to talk about, is that there is a segment of the United States population that is totally fine with the idea of suspending the Constitution, putting people in camps, murdering them, executions, all of that. Oh, they're collecting millions of dollars. First of all, Donald Trump has already collected, I think I saw it yesterday, 170 million from this whole grift. Now, that's the other part, is you have to think about it like Venn diagrams. right? So Flynn's over here with the QAnon people, and he's floating all of this stuff to make money off the QAnon people. Trump, of course, because he's at the top of this pyramid scheme, he's getting stuff from the QAnon people, obviously. And this is one of the reasons why he, half-assed endorsed QAnon. Well, Trump over here is calling for Brian Kemp in my state to go ahead and cancel elections and go ahead and invalidate elections, all that stuff, okay? What happens is over here in this QAnon universe, because it's a pyramid scheme, that goes from there to up here. So that doesn't mean that Donald Trump is necessarily going to declare martial law, but that universe is financially conducive to Donald Trump in the future and in regards to continuing to make money. So what happens is, if this gains enough steam, this idea of suspending the Constitution, declaring martial law, you might see Donald Trump even floating this idea to flirt with that little financial incentive circle over here. Now, what I keep saying is that it's both a grift and a coup. And I keep talking about professional wrestling because it's one of the few things that actually explains what's going on right now. All of this stuff, because Trump knows he lost the election, right? He knows that he has no legal foot to stand on in all of this stuff. But in order to protect his finances and in order to protect his reputation and his brand, he has to keep bringing up all these lawsuits. It doesn't matter if they get thrown out. He just has to keep showing everybody that believes in him and is willing to send him money that, oh no, there's still hope. There's still hope. No, I've been wrong. You've been wrong. You need to send money. Exactly. The fundraising is the important part of this. The problem is that reality is completely malleable. And if you do this, and if you convince enough people, it can lead to it becoming reality. The frightening thing about the QAnon conspiracy theory, and again, it is nutty and it is insane. The problem is that, yeah, you could end up having military tribunals. You could arrest a bunch of people. You could declare martial law and suspend the Constitution. Those are things that you could do, and you could make an actual reality. And it goes back to exactly what I was talking about with Seth Rich and Fox News and how they market test all of this stuff for their marketing niches. This stuff can build into a reality. It also exposes that there are millions of Americans who do not care about democracy. Well, what do? First and foremost, we have to understand this thing. That's why I'm sitting here talking about this, is because you have to get information out about it. You have to explain to people this weird interlocking thing of financial and political incentives, because I have to tell you, it's only going to grow. I'm sorry. I just need to tell people what's going on, because that is what has happened, and it's escalating. And the closer we get to January 20th, the worse it's going to get. But we have to understand first and foremost what's going on, because if we don't understand it, it's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow and grow. That's how you end up with Donald Trump in 2016, is people don't pay attention to this bullshit. But if we understand it, we can combat it. Because if it's just happening over here, while meanwhile, people are on social media telling you, oh, there's nothing to worry about. This whole thing is a joke. Oh, it's not really a coup. We should be treating this like it's a joke. And our institutions have actually held and everything's fine. If we deny what's happening in this country, and most of it is economic leading into fascism, which, by the way, is how fascism works. Fascism is when capitalism is about to fail and you need some, elbow grease and violence to make it continue to work, and you have to exploit some people. The problem here is that we have this weird ass reality that is just sort of floating out in the ether, this alternate reality that other people are living in. And it's actually affecting. We can't just say QAnon's a joke. We can't just say that Trumpism isn't actually fascism, or that we're not actually going through a coup. That's a good question. Trump and Flynn are grifting and lining their pockets. And by the way, there's the ability for future political power. And by the way, like they would be totally fine if a coup happened and they ended up in power. That'd be something. The Q people, what they get out of it is a sense of control and power. Because the Q people are being told, and remember this, conspiracy theories are about how power is being applied to you, but it's through a simplified manner. So basically, they're being told, well, you have power. You can go on YouTube and you can find hidden secrets that the cabal laid for each other, and you can actually find a way to defeat the conspiracy. When in fact, you can't do that. It would be better if you voted for people who were there for your interest or tried to help you. The Q people get faith. They get it is a cult. It is a religion type thing where it's like they have faith that will come out and help people. So yeah, we cannot ignore this. First things first is we have to educate ourselves about this. We have to understand that we're not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination. And we have to actually talk about the fact that we have a fascistic movement in this country. I know that that's not fun. As much as anybody, I wish we were done with Trumpism, and I wish last month would have been the end of it and it was just going to go away. It's not going to go away. What this thing showed, and by the way, Mike Flynn is a former general. He is a former national security advisor. And people don't like to talk about this. He was a finalist to be Donald Trump's vice presidential nominee. He's now out there openly saying that we should suspend the Constitution. What's that say? What's that say for the place in our country? This is a really, really bad thing. So I guarantee Biden is getting briefed on this. But I think probably the people around Biden don't understand this either. This is such a minutia. There's only a few of us out here who are actually studying what's going on with QAnon and Trumpism. Everybody else is like, the goodness of the country will make it better. We'll get out of this thing and it'll be totally fine. The problem is not enough people pay attention to it. And it's just going to grow and grow and grow. So first things first, got to get educated about it. Got to get educated about it. And I understand being freaked out, but the answer to fear is knowledge. Period. Fear is encompassed a lot by not understanding things and the anxiety of not understanding what could possibly happen and thinking about the things that could happen while not understanding how to control them. We first have to understand it. It sucks. It sucks. And you're actually seeing the marketing niches play out in a really crazy way. You know, you're seeing people leave Fox News and go into Newsmax and OANN. Newsmax is already hemorrhaging viewers because they had a story about the results being verified. It's really bad. And by the way, that doesn't mean that things are necessarily going to fall apart. It doesn't mean no, it won't be safe on January 20th. I hate to tell you. No, that is just another chapter in a much, much larger thing. I've been telling you for months, this thing, we have a really big fight in front of us. I keep saying it. This is why you have to like really celebrate the wins in the moment. Is you have to understand the wins. You have to let that you have to let that re-energize you in order to fight the longer fights. But even the Democrats and even the Biden transition people will tell you that this thing is fine and everything's going to be better and it's a new day in America. We have a much bigger fight in front of us. I'm sorry to tell you that, but I don't want to lie to you. And I'm not fear-mongering here. I think that this is doable. I do not think that I'm not being nihilistic about it. I'm not being pessimistic about it. I think we're going to win this thing. I really think that. I think we're going to beat this thing, but we have to understand these alternate realities, these conspiracy theories, that we have a fascistic movement in this country, and how economics drives so much of it. We have to understand that underlying, because if we just think that it's true, or if that they just believe it's true, that's one thing. But we have to understand it's both a coup and a grift. It's a pyramid scheme. Turtles all the way down. It's such a damn mess. Oh, all right. So there's that. I'll be keeping an eye on this thing. Oh, I think the Watkins have been posting as Q for a long time. That's the other thing. Q is just a grift. And they've raised a ton of money for that. It's just a thing. It's just a thing that was created and used. It was a total grift. It was a grift started by one group of people and then probably stolen by a different group of people. We're probably on the second group or third group to post as QAnon. It's just a grift. Is there any way he can pull off a coup? Yeah. Yeah, you could see that happen. I mean, it depends on whether or not this thing grows and grows and grows and grows. The question is whether or not we go ahead and diffuse it and point out that it's a grift and a coup at the same time, which takes away some of its power, some of its mystique, and takes away its viability. That's what we have to do. God, it sucks having to fight this thing every day. But yeah, he could do it. If he thinks, well, I hate to tell you this, we kind of have to diffuse it. We have to stop waiting on people to save us. We got to save ourselves. We got to do the hard work sometimes too. It sucks. We got to make people take this seriously. That, I don't know what kind of bird that is, but that bird sings every single day and wants the neighborhood to know about it. It's a beautiful little day out here. It's chilly. Winter has finally come to the blue state of Georgia. Yeah, I could see civil unrest. It'll depend on whether or not they try and do this thing. I don't know. But also, it creates an environment ripe for domestic terrorism. That's the other thing that we didn't even talk about in here. Like, we can diffuse the fascistic movement. We can de-radicalize some people, but Trump and Flynn and, I mean, Gingrich is doing this. Fox News is doing this. Hannity is doing this. All this stuff makes it ripe for domestic terrorism. If you think that there is no way whatsoever to, affect change or to have power in any way besides violence, a lot of people are going to choose violence. It's so irresponsible and it's so stupid. And again, it's just a grift that gets out of control and it grows into something large and real and dangerous. It's stupid and awful. All right, everybody. Let's try and have a decent Wednesday. Keep an eye on this stuff. Remember, whenever people are reporting on this, it's not as simple as the headline. It gets away. There's so much underneath it. There's so much stuff going into all of this. Yeah, you all stay safe. These are dangerous times. There's hope, but these are dangerous times. All right, everybody. Talk here soon. Be safe.